Marketing Manager here at Docker. Today, we have an awesome presentation here. I'm joined with two guests, Banja Chanana, who's the Senior Director of Product Management here, as well as Harish Jayakumar, who's an engineer. So thank you both for being here.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having us, Chris.
Of course. Today we're going to talk about our new announcement, right, on Docker Enterprise Edition. But before doing so, I just want to remind everyone that this presentation is being recorded. So what we'll do is later this week, we'll follow up via email and include this recording so you can give it another watch, or you can share it with anyone that you'd like. Also, at the end of this presentation, we'll save some time for some questions and answers. I know there will be several questions that come in throughout the presentation, so you can go ahead and you can post them in the Q&A chat portal here. And if we can, maybe we'll address some during the presentation, but we'll definitely save some time at the end so we can take on as many questions as we can. And I think with that being said, I'll just pass it over to Banja, and he can kick things off here.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this morning. We wanted to walk you through some of our announcements from the last couple of weeks. It's been an exciting couple of weeks for Docker. Many of you know about DockerCon coming up. We're excited about that out in Austin. We hope to see many of you there. We also wanted to tell you about some of the exciting things we've been working on the product side. We've really been trying to push forward on our innovation and capabilities, as well as provide some of the important assurances that customers need when running Docker in a production environment. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the advancements we've made on that front. And so let's get started. Many of you know Docker, I think, from our work in the open source. We've had a variety of and an abundance of developers who've used the product over the past 4 years. Our fourth birthday actually just happening over the next day or two. And so many of you have known about the developer community that's built out around Docker, and that's been an exciting adoption for us in ensuring that we build things that make sense in a developer-oriented environment. And we want to continue to add to that level of innovation and the level of usefulness of Docker as a standard API and the standard packaging format to really ease the transition for developers moving code from development all the way through to production. In that community, we've seen, in addition, the ops community come in and really take hold of Docker and use it for their needs as well. And as they've seen the advantages of using Docker in their operations environment to really standardize their packaging formats as they move across environments from staging to pre-staging and pre-production all the way into production, we've seen a really valuable ops community build out as well. That has given us a lot of great feedback about what changes we can make to make Docker more reliable, more stable, and make sure we provide compatibility and patching and fixes into our releases. And then over just the last couple of years, we've now seen the enterprise really come in and take a hold of Docker. And for enterprises, it's a whole different ballgame. I think for many of them, they're looking for an end-to-end solution. They don't want to buy the pieces and try to build the car themselves. They really want the whole thing put together, and they need fully supported environments. They need to know that it's going to work. They're trying to support thousands and thousands of applications in their environment, and so ensuring that every component they have is fully supported and fully usable and will scale in their production environments is important. And of course, we've had a thriving partner ecosystem building out around Docker as well. And that's been fantastic in helping us ensure that in those enterprise environments and in those operations environments, that all of the pieces you need to build out a full production environment at scale works with your existing tooling, making sure you can provide the service levels you need, making sure you have visibility into those environments, the security as well. Those are all really valuable pieces of the ecosystem that we want to continue to enable and ensure thrive around Docker. And so with that, we've introduced 2 new variants of Docker, 2 new ways to adopt Docker that really, we hope, clarify for the different users and audiences that we have what value they can get from Docker and what they should be using to start with. And sometimes we realize that it's been confusing in the past as to whether you start with the open source product or you start with something else in many of our tooling that has been available previously. So we've announced the Docker Community Edition and Docker Enterprise Edition. We'll start with the Community Edition. The Docker Community Edition is really meant for those developers and operations teams who are looking to use Docker as a part of their existing environment, that want to make sure that they can build out around the Docker tooling itself and make sure that they can continue to build out their existing environments and their existing tooling to support Docker. They're largely looking for, from one release to the next, they want to adopt the latest and greatest features, and they still want stability, of course, but they're adopting at a fairly quick pace. So providing quarterly releases for operations teams, but still providing all of our innovation at our latest edge releases that come out monthly. So that's the Community Edition. It's free and it's available. It's the fastest and easiest way to adopt Docker in any given environment, from your laptop, Mac and Windows laptops, all the way through to cloud provider environments like Amazon and Azure, and everything in between. Now, Enterprise Edition, we've recently announced, provides the capability for an end-to-end container as a service platform. It's really meant to provide the end-to-end subscription for enterprises to adopt Docker in a methodical way at scale in production. What it provides is end-to-end support around Docker, as well as all of the additional components that are needed to make Docker run in that production environment, as well as all the features included in the Enterprise Edition. Quarterly releases, so you always are getting your latest releases, but you have the stability of that release for a full year with backports and fixes and hot fixes as necessary, and then running on certified infrastructure. We validate every environment that the Enterprise Edition runs on to make sure that it's high quality, that it runs at scale, and that it can be fully supportable. And we work with the vendors of those environments, and we ensure the quality ourselves. And so it's important for us to get across in the Enterprise Edition that we are providing end-to-end support on that environment, as well as of Docker itself, as well as the orchestration and capabilities that are part of the Enterprise Edition. So a little bit deeper on Enterprise Edition. What is it? Well, we start with supported environments that are certified. And so we have a list here of the environments that we currently support: Windows Server, Amazon, SUSE Linux, CentOS, Red Hat, Ubuntu, Oracle Linux. We will continue to add more. We'll continue to add additional versions. So as each of those operating systems or infrastructures revision, we'll make sure that we work on those latest revisions. We provide an end-to-end orchestration and integrated orchestration and security and management capabilities on that environment. And so you'll have all of the functionality. Many of you have heard of Docker Data Center. It's included as a part of this Enterprise Edition. All of that functionality works on those environments. We then also certify on top of that environment additional containers that can be run in that environment that come from our ecosystem, as well as plugins that extend the capabilities of that orchestration and of the Docker engine itself. We make sure there's a predictable release cadence. We know for enterprises that are adopting, it's important to know that every quarter you're going to have a release that comes out. You're going to have full support of that release for a full year, and you can imagine as time goes on, we'll continue to add length to those support, to support and maintenance of those releases, and then security and hot fixes as needed for those environments. So when the latest OpenSSL vulnerability hits, or the latest patch for some new security fixes out there, we adopt those patches as quickly as possible. We make sure they're merged to both the Community Edition as well as the Enterprise Edition, but in the Enterprise Edition you get that full support for the full year on that release, and we'll continue to fix hot fixes as well as backport patches to that release. And of course, enterprise class support. You get to call us 24/7, 365 days a year to know that we will be on the other line, and we will help you through any configuration issues or any defects you may run into in the product. And then certified plugins and certified infrastructure underneath with certified containers and plugins on top. Those are all available as a part of the Enterprise Edition. So let's talk a little bit about what makes an edition. We use the name edition very, very specifically. It meant something very specific to us, and so the goal of the edition really is to simplify the usage and adoption of Docker in a given infrastructure. And we're using Amazon here as an example, but just to call out some of the specifics, as we build out an edition, we think about the storage plugins and network plugins. We think about the additional capabilities of the infrastructure that we can utilize on Amazon. We provide the capability to support VPCs. Of course, we use EC2 instances to spin up the actual hosts running Docker. We use IAM capabilities, EBS, the load balancing, ELBs, and of course, CloudFormation template to make that super easy to deploy. So that's an example of one of our editions. For every one of those supported infrastructures, we make sure that that edition is as easy to use as possible. That's our goal with each of those editions. Now, of course, enterprises, they focus on, needing support and making sure that not only is this a certified and validated stack, that this works end to end. And so that's our goal, is that the certification process for the infrastructure as well as the containers and plugins ensures that you can run this stack top to bottom in your environment and you'll know it works. Now, this is particular to the Enterprise Edition. On the Community Edition, we don't provide the same certifications as we do for the Enterprise Edition, and in particular, the support for those certified containers is available on the Enterprise Edition only. Now, two specific things around this certification process. One is that when we certify something, we're providing a set of standards that our partner ecosystem can adhere to. We make sure that these standards are adhered to across the ecosystem, and they ensure the validity of the plugins, the containers, and the infrastructure itself. So when we're validating and certifying these plugins, it's not just a stamp of approval. It's a stamp of approval that says, we've checked to make sure this plugin actually works. It works the way it's intended to work, and it works properly using non-deprecated APIs. It uses all the standard public APIs, et cetera. And so that's a focus for us around the certification process, which we've now scaled out, and we have many vendors who have now submitted through that certification process. The store, the Docker store, is now the one place to get all of your certified capabilities for Docker. That includes your additions. So any addition you get is now available through the Docker store. So you'll have your links to download those additions or to spin up those additions, as well any third-party containers and plugins as well. And so you have a one-stop shop to get all of the pieces of the Docker Enterprise Edition. Now, just a quick view of some of the partners we work with. There are three different types of certifications that we provide. One is at the infrastructure level. That's clearly, operating systems, cloud providers, anyone at the level of which we'd run an edition on top of. That's certified at that level. We do all of our validations at that level. So Azure, Amazon, SUSE, Oracle, et cetera. We validate to make sure Docker runs and it installs easily and properly on those environments. With the plugins, we make sure that the plugins extend Docker in known good ways, that they provide capabilities on top of the Docker engine using our standard plugin format and work properly with our orchestration capabilities. You'll see some of the vendors here, of course, Blockbridge, Nexenta, Cisco, Nutanix, Nimble, many folks that have been part of our announcement, and we've continued to add more as over the last just week and a half. And then, of course, containers. So the container area is an interesting one in that we're supporting not just individual containers, but sometimes full-on application components. So it could be logging and monitoring capabilities like those from Datadog and Sysdig, or it could be application functionality or database containers like from Microsoft with SQL, or for others it could be full-on sets of stacks such as those like GitLab. So for each of those vendors, we provide a different set of specifications that they adhere to make sure the containers work properly in that environment. So a little bit more about the technology program itself. Again, we talked about kind of 3 different levels. Infrastructure is really for providers of infrastructure that we can certify on, containers for the ISP products themselves, and then plugins for those that extend the networking and storage capabilities today that you can plug into at the Docker engine and add to the functionality of the Docker runtime. Now, our goal is to continue to scale these programs to make sure that vendors know that they can get their plugins in. They can very easily get through the process. They know the requirements up front. The testing is fully automated, so they can get through it very quickly. And for customers, knowing that things are certified ensures a level of not only validation that it'll work, but also support. So behind the scenes, we're providing end-to-end support with that third party to make sure that you can run in that environment. And our goal here is really to ensure that end-to-end, Docker can provide an end-to-end supply chain for your software development process that standardizes on a uniform packaging format with the container and the container image, that standardizes the API tooling across that supply chain, and then standardizes the integration points inside that supply chain as well. And so you can continue to remain agile and portable and get all the benefits that Docker provides today, but do so in a way that's consistent across every part of your supply chain, whether that be a new application or whether that be an existing one. And so the end-to-end supply chain, in a little bit more detail, provides the capabilities for new applications to get built on the Docker runtime as microservices, but also provides a mechanism for common off-the-shelf applications to get fully certified and run in that environment so that they can be deployed easily. And the Docker container image format provides a standard way for those packages to get deployed, as well for your legacy applications to get benefits of portability and agility and security from that supply chain end to end. And so with the capabilities of the registry to store those container images and provide security around them, collaboration functionality, and then of course on the runtime with swarm mode and universal control plane to provide end-to-end visibility for operations and production-ready infrastructure that they can run on and deploy microservices or their COTS applications or even old monoliths. So our goal is to provide that end-to-end platform. Developers to ops, from Linux to Windows. We've added support for Windows, and as you've seen, we've certified on Windows infrastructure, so now it's a fully supported platform, from traditional apps to new microservices, as well as for on-premises or cloud implementations. You can use Docker in all of those environments and make sure that you get a fully supported and validated platform that works in every single one of those environments for any type of app you're using. And there's 3 specific ways in which we've seen many people get started. So, many folks ask us, what's the easiest, what should I do first? Should I start building new applications? Should I start migrating my existing applications over? Should I transform my applications into microservices first? And really the answer is all 3 paths are possible. What we generally suggest is one path, which is taking your existing apps and just putting them into a container image format and getting them into the container lifecycle can help with issues of portability or agility and tying into your DevOps toolchain, as well as provide security by we can now provide capabilities like scanning as well as secrets that you can use with your monolithic apps today. And that's a very valid path, and it provides a very quick return on investment. And we'll provide more information on this as we go on in further webinars. The second option, which we've seen many customers do, some of our early customers, is take an existing app, containerize it for the purposes of then separating it into smaller microservices. And that's really an extension of Path 1. And it's a great way to get started by first learning containers and learning how to put them into production, and then slowly getting to know microservices and getting to know how to deploy those properly by breaking apart your monoliths, but not having to do them at the pace of an immediate need in order to get the benefits of agility and portability and security that we have. And of course, for many customers, standing up a CAS platform means that immediately they can engage with their development teams and actually start deploying microservices right away. And that's a very valid use case. In fact, we see folks that basically implement both options at the same time. They'll stand up the CAS platform, let their developers deploy on it for new applications, but also start migrating their old monoliths onto that CAS platform so they can start converting their legacy and getting benefits from containers. So it's really meant to, just to tie this together back to the beginning, one platform that allows you to run an end-to-end supply chain for your development teams all the way through to IT ops and enterprise architects for your Linux and Windows apps on-premises to cloud. And we can do this with both our Community Edition as well as our Enterprise Edition. So use the Community Edition if you're an individual developer and you're interested in using Docker and getting to know it, and you're not ready to pay for support. You can start by using Docker right away and getting value out of it with our Community Edition. If you're running a large enterprise and looking to deploy Docker in production and you want to run it at scale, you need the assurances of support. You need the assurances of a service level behind that. Call us for the Enterprise Edition. Look at the Docker store. You can get it right there. And, of course, the ecosystem fully supported on our Enterprise Edition as well. So just a little bit about the subscription itself. The subscription really breaks out into 3 different tiers. So the Enterprise Edition provides basic, standard, and advanced capabilities. Basic capabilities really focus around enabling you to run the core runtime with orchestration and networking fully integrated in, as well as making sure that you can use certified containers and plugins on top of certified infrastructure. EE Standard really provides all the functionality you need to get going with your supply chain. And this is really, for many of you who knew Docker Data Center, this is really where Docker Data Center's features come into play. So we've added all the features of Docker Data Center to now the Enterprise Edition, which is the standard tier. So it provides you now the ability to have your trusted registry, your integrated container and app management using Universal Control Plane, multi-tenancy with role-based access control and LDAP integrations, as well as secrets, signing, and policy management all the way through your supply chain. Now with EE Advanced, we add the functionality of security scanning and continuous vulnerability monitoring. As we go forward in time, you'll see that we will continue to add additional features to each of those tiers. And so over time, as you buy into to a tier, you get your basic or standard or advanced capabilities. We'll continue to add functionality to each one of those tiers. Standard support included with the Enterprise Edition, you can always go up to business critical support for 24/7 support as well. And of course, you can get Docker from a variety of places, not only from our direct field teams and from the Docker store, but also from our resellers. You can also get Docker directly through our resellers who are providing full support level capabilities of Docker as well, whether it's Canonical, Cloudera, IBM, Microsoft, HP, and Alibaba Cloud. Our cloud marketplaces, the cloud marketplaces from Amazon and Azure also have fully supported Docker Enterprise Edition on them as well. So you can always deploy from there, and you'll be billed alongside your cloud resources. So that's about it for me. Just a reminder, DockerCon is coming. make sure you get your registrations in. I think at this point I will hand it over to Harish for a demo.
Right.
All right.
Thank you so much. Cool. Thanks, Manjot and Chris. So let's get started. Okay, I just want to make sure, can you guys see my screen?
Sure can.
Cool.
Yep, looks great.
Awesome. So now, so basically, let's get started with what Manjot was talking about. So let's go and talk about first the Docker store. So what's happening is this is the Docker store, right? So in the Docker store, you can see, just like what he was talking about, you have certified products, you have editions, popular enterprise editions and community editions outside of this, right? So as you can see here, Docker EE for enterprise editions and Docker CE for community edition over there, and then you have containers you can go look at, right? So typically when you're setting up your cluster, when you're setting up your Docker engine, this is where you would come and you would buy. So for example, Docker EE, which is enterprise edition, is what you would use. You see all the enterprise editions flavors are over here. So I've done all this before for the demo. I've spin up a cluster that's based off Ubuntu. So you can see here when you log in, you will actually see, you can see that it shows the enterprise edition which I'm using for Ubuntu. I went to the store, I purchased it from here, and I'm using it. Now for this demo, what we're also going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how to basically take some containers and we can actually publish it. So let's go to some containers over here. And the cool part about here is the option for certified, right? Just like what Manjot said, once you click this, now you actually have certified images, certified containers that you can actually use over here. So for example, we can take Datadog, or we can take any of those components that we want over here. So before we actually jump in, so this is once you go here, it basically tells you how you can go get it and actually start pushing it. So we're going to start with two separate roles on that, before which I want to bring up the Docker Trusted Registry. So let's go here. Let's bring it up. So Manjot talked about Docker Data Center, which consists of two components, which is the Docker Trusted Registry and the Docker Universal Control Plane. So the first one is the registry. As you can see here, this is where you use to actually maintain your images. You can see if you're familiar with the hub, it's a very similar look and feel. You have repositories, you have organizations. So I have 5 organizations over here, Hugi, Globex, Anytech, Official, and then you have users over here. So you can see there's a Harish read-write user, and then you have various settings over here. I'm using S3 as my backend, and then you have security settings. You can actually say about image scanning, which is once your images get pushed, you can have the image scanning that gets automatically kicked off and to find out if there's any known vulnerabilities or not. It also has garbage collection that's built in. So for example, when you have a lot of developers pushing through images to DTR, images start accumulating, right? So now you can actually make sure you can set this up to run in the background whenever you want for your schedule. For example, you could, set up something like, and then now it will run once every midnight and make sure the images are going to be cleared. Right. The reason I brought this up before actually getting into this is so you know what Docker Trusted Registries. Again, that's only like 1 or 2 of the things that's there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually wear 2 separate hats. So Manjot in his presentation had talked about both developer and an IT person. So most of you are familiar with these 2 roles in pretty much every organization. So there's Guilfoyle, which if you're familiar with the Silicon Valley series is the IT ops person, and then there's Dinesh, the developer. So first, let's walk through the role of an IT ops person. who is basically going to take a Docker image, sign it, and throw it so that the developers can use it, and he controls, and he has control and visibility, everything into this. So now, first as Guilfoyle, I'm logged in as an administrator over here, so this is what I see. So we've decided that we're going to go get a Datadog image. So he goes to the Docker store, and that's the Datadog. And so I just copy this. Now I'm actually, so I've already logged in over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this from the Docker store. Oh, so it wants me to log in. That's fine. See what's going on. See, this is working morning. All right, so let's quickly check on what's going on. So basically, once you pull the image from there, so let's actually let's work with an image that's already existing over here. Maybe let me just try and restart my Docker engine. So Benjo, if you just want to show around the store for a couple of minutes, let me just get that quickly fixed.
Sure. Let me take over here for a second. I think you just have to pass the ball back to me. Great.
Yeah, pass it.
All right. So hopefully you can see my screen here. I'm actually going to go over to the Docker store, and let's start at the very top. I was answering one of the questions as we were going. So you'll see here the Docker store provides you right away visibility to everything that you can get onto a Docker environment that's fully supported. So you've got access right here to the Community Edition and the Enterprise Edition, as well as all of our supported and trusted products. So if you go down a little bit further, you'll see our actual editions listed here.
Benja, I fixed it actually.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll stop here.
Sorry. Thank you. I think I just need to restart the engine. Sorry about that, guys. As most of you know, that's one of the things you get with the live demos. All right. So as you can see here, all I did was I just had to restart the engine, I think. And then now I just downloaded my image. You can see here the image is here.
I think you just have to share your screen, Harish.
Right. Oh, sorry. Right. So as you guys can see here, I just pulled the image. I simply just copy pasted that. So now I have it. So I'm simply doing a Docker image. And you can actually see that this is the latest Datadog image that was pulled. So as you can see, I just took an official one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to add whatever is specific to my organization, Huli, right? But just in the interest of time, typically what you would do, you put this in a Docker file, you add components you want, to do a Docker build, and you tag it. But just in the interest of time, I'm simply just going to tag this image, Docker tag. Let's use this image. Now, when you want to tag it with the DTR, the way you kind of use it is you typically use the name of the registry, the name of the organization, and the name of the repository, right? And then you put a tag. So I'm going to say something like prod ready. Let's just call it prod for now. So you see this? That's this, and this. So if you actually saw when I showed you guys the Docker Trusted Registry over here, Huli, Datadog, right? So that's what we're doing here, and I'm tagging it as prod. Right? Now I'm not only going to just tag it, I'm also going to, actually let me, so you guys can see this. Cool. So back here, we tagged it. Now what we're going to do is I'm simply going to sign this image. Now once I enable this, I've basically enabled what is called as Docker Content Trust. Docker Content Trust allows you to sign images and use it across the organization, right? So now I, as an ops person, I can take this image, I can sign it with my signature, so that can be used inside my entire organization. So now what I'm going to do is, now that I've tagged this, I am going to log in to my DTR. Click, and I am going to push the recently tagged image. So now what we're basically happening is we're actually pushing the image to the registry. So just to walk through, I went to the store, I picked up a certified official container, I've added my company specific things, and now I'm signing it and I'm actually pushing it to the registry. Now this can then be used by your entire organization across the board. So one of the big things about signing, which is very, very important, is now you can actually say things like, if a developer has not signed it, don't run it in test. If developer and test have not signed it, don't run it in production. If development, test, and I don't know, staging has not run it, then don't run it in production. So you can have multiple signatures as well. So this comes built into the Docker Trusted Registry out of the box itself, right? So while signing is going on, there you go. So now it's asking me for an actual root username and a root key for me to sign it. This is how it actually verifies. Let's enter that. Cool. So now we've successfully signed it and pushed it. So now once you go here and go to images, you can see that you actually have a signed image. Now this is really, really cool, right? Because we just had a signed image which can be used inside the organization. Now this becomes very, very important as well, because now when you're running any containers in your cluster, you can actually say things like, if it's not a signed container, don't run it. So this is like ultimate security. Now to add to this, we can also have what we've added is called as scanning. Now you can actually enable this by default if you want to say start a scan or stop a scan every time there's a push, which is typically what enterprise would do, is like on every push, you can automatically start a scan. Now I can start a scan on this, but just to show you guys while it runs how it will actually look, we can go back to something I was preparing for. So for example, I did the same thing with Portworx. So you see here, I'm going to show you images. You see it's signed and it's loading. Now it tells you that there's actually these errors associated with Portworx. So if you actually see what it is, it tells you inside the layer, pretty much at every layer, it tells you what's going on. Now you can actually go into components and check this out. It actually calls out all the vulnerabilities associated with the image along with their CVE and its description of it. So from here, you can actually go directly to the CVE and learn about, okay, what is it? And now you can take an action on whether you want to go change it, you want to go update it, or what you want to be able to go do. So this is really, really cool, right? So think about this. There's signing and there's scanning of images, which you can actually do together just with the Docker Trusted Registry itself. Now to walk through the flow, what happens is, okay, we've pushed this image, right? Let's go back to our Huli organization, our repositories. Let's bring up the one we push right now, Datadog, and it has this image. So now we can, the IT ops person goes to sleep. And now we have our developer coming in and he wants to use Datadog's base image. And he's going to take that image and he's going to create what he wants with it, and then he's going to sign it and push it back as well. But now what's going to happen is that's the user over here, and we're going to call him Harish read-write user. He's assigned to the Huli organization. He belongs to the team of developers. As you can see, there's a dev team that's created. But what's cool part is what Guilfoyle did is, because he's based off Paris, we've actually set up a content cache for him. So you can see here, this is a cache service. Now I've set it up in the EU region so that when Dinesh, the developer, gets up and he wants to use it, he can actually pull it from cache. Now, this is another new feature we've added with DTR as well. So you can actually set up a content cache so that you can avoid any, this is not fully mirroring, but think of this as a cache so that every time if you have a team that's sitting in either Europe and on your Docker Trusted Registry is based off San Francisco, you can actually reduce the bandwidth considerably by setting up a cache which is very closer to where your developers are. Now, they can use the images, and then they can actually push back to the images as well. So this is, again, really powerful. And again, you can have nested caches as well. So for example, you can have a cache, and then you can have another cache which will pull from this cache as well. So that's the next thing we're going to be talking about. And then what's going to happen is, Dinesh, the developer, is going to try to pull that image. It's going to first hit the cache because we've configured it to go to the cache. But because it's an image we just push right now, it won't be in the cache. So the cache will then go automatically pull it from DTR, throw it in the cache so the next time they can use it, right? So now let's move there. So this is the tab that we have here. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to cheat a little bit and just copy it from here. But pretty much you guys get the point. Developer goes and he tries to, oh, first let's log in. What was that? Okay. Cool. So now the developer is actually going to take this image. Let's make it a pull. And now he's basically getting the image which they had pulled. Now what I'm going to quickly do while this is happening is to show you, and this is our cache over here. Right, I guess Amazon's timed out, so let's log into the cache again. So we're going to go to the cache, and I'm going to show you the logs of what's happening in the cache so that you can actually see that it's going to do a cache miss, and then from that it's then going to go to the DTR and then actually pull it. So you can go to Sheen SSH, that's my DTR cache, and then once you go there, it's going to tell you what's going on over here. So let's go here. You can see I'm running a cache service over here. And what we can simply do is we can see the logs of this. Let's go back and see what's going on. Let's just pull it. Yeah. So now you see it's actually taken this image. Now same logic before we go back to the cache. So he's pulled this image just to finish this workflow. Now he actually, say suppose, does the same thing. He takes this, he creates his application, he creates his container, does it. Now he tags it and then he signs it. So again, what he would do is once he's built his new thing, let's for sake of time purposes, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to tag this differently as let's call it Dinesh, or let's call it dev, right? So basically, we've taken the image and we're now tagging it, and then he's going to push the image again, right? So now what he's going to do, he's going to Docker push the image that he just tagged over here, right? So this is again keys, because now it's actually signing this image, and now it's asking for this. Perfect. So now the developer has also signed it. And once you go here to the repos, over here, now you can see that it's actually signed by the developer Harish Reed, right? So you can start a scan for that as well. So now just to prove that was actually, there was a cache miss, let's go here. Now I just wanted to wait so that now let's say, I think 10 minutes should be fine. So I'm basically just pulling the logs of this container to show you that you can actually see that there was a cache miss right? And then it actually went, so response completed, it did a cache miss, and then it actually pushed it from, now it went and it added a new entry for the new component. So the next time the pull happens, it's going to come from this. So this is really, really cool, guys. So just to reiterate on what we are before I jump into UCP, there's signing that's built in. We were able to sign the images. We were able to scan images to find out if there's any known vulnerabilities or not. And then there's a content cache that's built into the Docker Trusted Registry for you to be able to use it for nearby, if your dev team or anybody sitting from your main repository. So these are key big things we've added in this new release of Docker Trusted Registry. Just in the interest of time, we have 13 more minutes, so I'm going to jump in and quickly show you guys UCP. So now this is Universal Control Plane. As you guys can see, think of this as a very clean interface for your orchestration layer, right? So now, again, I'm logged in as an administrator over here. As you can see, it's a very clean interface which tells you the nodes, services, containers that's running, how much usage is going on, what CPU is being used, etc., and etc., right? So you can go to resources, and now you can actually see the services that are running, and it also tells you the containers that are running over here, the images. Now, here's the other cool part which you can do over here, right? So if I go here and I say content trust and I say only run signed images. Now this will prevent anybody simply just taking any Docker image or anything and just running it as is. If it's not gone through that process, which we just showed you right now through the demo of signing and scanning, it will not be used. So again, this is very, very powerful, and it can be used to make sure that you're only running the signed images and blessed images by your organization, right? So in the interest of time, I'm simply going to show just the new features we've added in the release, which is basically one of the big things is Docker secrets, right? So all of you must have heard about the secrets that came out in the 1.13 release. Right. So basically, secrets is like humans are to passwords, as applications as to secrets. So just like every human has a password, like we have like Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, you have a password associated with that. Similarly, applications have what's called as secrets to authenticate to either an infrastructure or to a service. Right. So that's what we've added. Again, everything that I'm showing you on the GUI is stuff you can actually do through the CLI as well. But just wanted to show you guys on how it will look with the GUI itself. So creating a secret is very, very simple as well. So you can simply go create a secret over here and say test webinar. Actually, let's make it simple. Reach secret, and you can say webinar rocks, right? Now, here's the deal. So what UCP comes with, it also comes with role-based authentication controls that's built into it. So you can actually use labels. All those teams and permissions and users we talked about there, you can actually specify labels and specify permissions for them between these two. So you can, and these are components that come with the commercial offering like UCP. So I've simply created the secret over here. Now, this secret will only be, that's it. Once you've added the text, or once you've added the password for it, all that you can do is the only way that secret is going to be used is by the service that wants it, and only for that service. No other service can associate it. You cannot see it as well. So what's exactly happening? Once you create a secret, basically only the service can use it, right? And this is basically because it's actually mounting it in the root file system of it, and for you to be able to go use it. So now let's look at associating it with a simple app and seeing you what's going on with it, right? Now let's create a service. I want to show a bigger demo about this, but so what I'm going to simply do is I'm simply going to spin up a service, and I'm simply going to just show you how the secret is used inside it. Let's call this. Let's use Redis, right? Now you can do replicated. You can go here. You can add constraints on where you want to be able to go deploy the service. And then over here, you can actually publish the ports over here. Now, there you see, now you're actually making sure only that service which wants to use the secret can actually go use it. So I'm actually going to go use the secret. All right. Now, you see here you can actually specify any target name you want, but if you leave it by default, it's actually going to be the same name as what it is. So what's basically happening is within this container file system, there's actually going to be a tempfs volume that's mounted under /run/secrets. And a file with whatever name you put here, but if I leave it, it's going to be Harish secret, that's going to be created inside it. Now this is the cool part, right? Because it exists only in memory, tempfs file system on the container, and is never written to disk. So this is a huge thing because a lot of customers have been asking for this, because otherwise your choices where you had to send it as an environment variable in clear text, or you were writing it inside your Docker file or in Compose. So that's a big thing that's changed as well over here, right? So now I've just added the secret, and that's it. So now that service that we just created is going to be using that. You can see now that that secret, you can never see the value of it in clear text anywhere. In fact, let's simply go back over here, right? This is the one we created. There's no way you can actually see it. It only tells the service which is going to be associated with it, right? So now you go to the service, you can go to the tasks, and you can see the service associated with it, right? Let's go there. Now, what I told you was that it's actually going to be mounted under this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do ls right? So you see that? That's exactly what I was saying, that it gets mounted over there under run secrets. That's the only way you can actually see that it's there. There you go. So this is really, really important. So secrets, scanning, signing, all provides an end-to-end secure communication for the Docker data center, all the way from the developer's workflow from this. Again, what we have covered is about 5% of the functionality that's there in UCP and DTR. Would highly recommend you guys to go download, play with it, and with that, I'll hand over to Chris, who's going to tell you how to get there.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. So first off, I just wanted to say thank you both to Banjot and Harish. I see a lot of questions came in around, is this presentation being recorded? Absolutely, right? I mentioned it earlier in the presentation, so for folks who kind of joined in now, we've recorded this presentation. What we'll do is we'll follow up later this week and send it out to you. We can add in the slides as well. I know there were some requests for that. And there's a bunch of questions that came in. I think Banjot and myself tried to answer a bunch as we could. And we have about 5 minutes left here. What I'd like to do is kind of get through a few more of those questions. So Harish or Banjot, if you do see questions that you want to address, feel free to chime in here. I'm looking through as well.
Okay, I'm logging in. Sorry, go ahead, Banjot.
Yeah, I was going to just maybe a couple questions that I've seen repeated a few times. One is, whether the images the images that are being scanned, can those only be images from Docker Store? The answer to that is every image that is pushed to the Docker Trusted Registry can be scanned and signed. So that is available to any container image, not just the certified ones or not just the ones you pull from Docker Store. The scanning process actually works for any signs or any image that you push to the Docker Trusted Registry. One other question that I saw come up a couple times on the use of certified containers and plugins, and whether those are supported for Community Edition. They are not. Community Edition provides a mechanism to get up and running with Docker very quickly and easily. It is free. It is available to download through our website and through the Docker Store. However, certified containers and certified plugins are only supported on Docker Enterprise Edition. Those are a couple that I caught.
Let me see. So I think you covered the CE versus EE. Can you share DTR across several instances of EE? Or can you replicate between DTRs of different EE instances? Well, I'm thinking you're asking me, so several instances of EE. So obviously you will be using DTR only with EE nodes. So when you do a Docker pull, either using UCP, you're pulling the image from DTR to pretty much every instances of EE. So yes, you can do that. When you say you can replicate between DTRs of different EE instances, not sure what you mean. Let's see. Are there only, let's see, can you replicate? Okay, I don't see anything else. Sorry, go ahead.
Harish, there was one question about the caching. Can you maybe explain the content cache and how you deploy that content cache? I think one of the questions was around, whether those are deployed automatically or how they get deployed out there.
Cool. Can you guys share my screen? See my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So this is the cache, and let me show you what I did. So basically, this is nothing but another EE engine. So just to show you guys. And what I've done is basically taken that, all I've simply done is I've spun up another Docker engine, an enterprise edition of the engine, and I use this file called as config.yaml. So let's see what I'm writing inside it. Actually, that's a good question and good way to show it. It's very, very simple. This file, it's available in our documentation. So all I'm doing here is this file, you would take it and you will call out who's your primary DTR. So in my case over here, harishDTR.docker.org, that's my primary DTR. So basically saying that, hey, here's the cache, and this cache is connected to the primary DTR over there. And then after that, all I'm doing is I'm pointing it to where my certificates are. And now this is basically varlib registry is the directory under which I'm saying store the files for this cache. And then after that, all I've done is I'm simply running a simple cache service, which is nothing but, as usual, another Docker container. I can show it to you. What I've done here is basically, there you go. So I've simply run it, and I'm publishing it on port 5000. I've pointed to where the certs are, and I'm pulling an image, and I'm running a container called DTR content cache. That's it. That's all I did. And then now this becomes a cache for the main DTR. I hope that should explain it. All right.
Okay, I'm looking for these two.
One last question. One of the questions is what additions are available with Windows 2016? So Windows Server 2016 comes with the Enterprise Edition Basic included in it. And so as a part of Windows Server 2016, you get EE Basic, and then you can always add additional capabilities to that EE Basic to get it to standard or advanced.
And I know we're coming up on the hour here, so I want to be conscious of everyone's time. I think what we'll do with this one, since we got so many questions, we can do like a follow-up blog or so and answer as many of these Q&A questions as we can, especially for the ones that we didn't get through. So I want to thank everyone in the audience for being here. It means a lot to us to spend an hour to hear about Docker Enterprise Edition. Also, Ganja and Harish, as always, thank you both for being here.
My pleasure.
Great. DockerCon is coming up, so hopefully I have the opportunity to see all you guys at the show. That's from April 17th to 20th. And I think with that being said, go ahead and close out the presentation. So have a great day, everyone, and we look forward to having you join next time.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.